Hello everybody, this is Fernando for the latest Cryptids and Monsters of the week. Thought I would mix one of these in after I've wrapped up my recent trip there to the Dallas and then also the Fort Worth and then finally the Oklahoma area over this past weekend. If you haven't had a chance, check out the videos. I visited some places, did some live streams as well. Unfortunately, I tried to go to the Aurora Cemetery and then I tried to go to another place. I think it was called the Nash Farm. And I was even going to plan on going to the infamous Goatman Bridge. Unfortunately, fate or maybe something else, some other forces decided that no, this was not going to happen because no sooner did I actually go out than the next day it was just raining, raining, raining. And then the following day, when I thought to myself, you know what, this will be a good opportunity to try yet again, not only did it rain even harder, but it started icing as well. It was just really bad. So I'm gonna have to wait and see what the next time is that I'll be out there, and if so, then I'll get to do those live streams there. Very excited. I was gonna be very excited to show all this great info, but alas, it'll be a next time. So let's go ahead then and do this random page, in this case from the cryptids.wiki.com website. What's fascinating is that this creature, this alleged creature, basically fits two categories. Not only is it a cryptid, but it could also be a ghost slash spirit. So it was very fascinating to come across this information. I was reminded, in fact, of some of the past stuff that I've talked about. Like I think it was the phantom kangaroo that I did in one of my other videos, and then others had suggested as well phantom or ghost dinosaurs, but I was never able to find much info on that. So when it came across this, awesome. I mean, this is great stuff to show here, and you're looking at it now. It's basically known as the ghost deer. So let's go ahead and let's talk about all the information associated with this alleged cryptid, or it could actually be a ghost out there in the woods. So what is this ghost deer? Well, it's a deer that apparently lives, and this is really cool too because it's a very specific area, there in Mount Edie in Northern California. I love it whenever I come across stories and you have a very exact specific location, because what better way to try to hunt this thing than to go to its supposed realm. In fact, I will include a link below for a website, SF Gate. I'm guessing that means San Francisco Gate.com, a news article of sorts, and within it the author actually tries to go out to that location and track this thing. So that was really interesting to go about. I'll include some of his info here too, but when you have a chance, check out the link and then you'll be able to see or read essentially his own experience. That's what makes it so exciting when you deal with an actual location. But yes, you have to go there to Mount Edie in Northern California. And then you go there, I guess, during hunting season, which presumably is during a very specific time of the year. But if you go there, then you have a great chance of running across this cryptid. In fact, that article highlights several people that have talked about it there, almost as if it's very nonchalant, like this is just another creature that happens to be there, and it's so often that it's part of it, of the lore surrounding the community. They don't take it like at shock value. In this case, they just simply accept it by this point. More on that here in a minute. Let's talk about though what the ghost deer is, how it looks like. It's essentially a deer, like your average deer, maybe just slightly larger, it seems like, in some of the descriptions, but for all intents and purposes, it's your average deer. Although it seems to also have, in some incarnations, a whitish look, an albino look to it. In other incarnations, it has more of a wispier look, like you can see through it, just like you would like if the notion goes with any ghost or spirit, how they're not solid and you can see whatever is behind them. Such is the case here with this ghost deer. But that's it. Imagine just your average deer, just a little bit more, in this case, ghost looking, and that's what you have with regards to this ghost deer. It does have some very interesting traits, especially when it comes to I guess it's antlers. They have very large antlers, far more or not too large, but far more in this case than your average deer. That's what makes them stand out. That's what draws the instant attention to all of these hunters when they go out there. They see those antlers. I guess it's like a prize when it comes to hunters. The larger the antlers, the bigger the catch. And with this creature, this ghost deer, here you have something with abnormally large antlers, so it'll instantly draw the attention of those who have seen it. And then check this out, there's supposedly a very specific trait of those antlers too. So one side of the antlers will have 10 points, and then the other side will have 12 points. I don't know exactly like why they're odd even like that, like why they're not exactly 12-12 each side or 10-10. But that seems to be the lore there of the ghost deer. 10 antlers on one end, 12 points on one end, 12 on the other. I don't know if it's a left or a right or which one, but that seems to be the trait. And it looks heavier than some of the other deer that are out there as well. So I guess in this case it's supposed to weigh around 240 to 250 pounds. Someone will have to let me know though, because I don't hunt and I don't know too much about deer, if that's larger than usual when it comes to the expected weight, 240 to 250 pounds. If that's the case, please post those comments below. But that's it as far as its physical characteristics. Now as far as the encounters themselves, the whole idea is you can first find its tracks. Its tracks will be larger than your average deer, and then also it'll be so large that people will actually mistake the tracks for elk. And so when that happens, they'll start to track this thing. In some cases, they will find it, looking at them, in this case, from far off the distance. And when that happens, they'll attempt to shoot it, I guess to collect it, make it a prize, whatever is the case. But the way this thing works is people will have a hard time hitting it. In fact, that was some of the encounters there in the sfgate.com link. And that was where people would shoot at it, but whenever what happened, that they would miss. And I'm guessing that these are people that normally don't miss. Not like that they're like Bullseye from the comic books level and they never miss, but more along the lines that it was a surprise to them that they missed. That was what the author came across when he was overhearing some of those people telling them. And then also, whenever they do hit it, quote unquote hit it, then there's an even bigger shock for them, because no sooner do they hit this deer, this ghost deer, then the bullets go straight through it. So in that case, people are totally surprised by it because they know they've hit it. They probably had the deer in the sights. This thing was just not moving. It was just perfectly poised for the prime shot. And then when they took it, they saw, I guess I could totally imagine like the bullet going through it and then creating like that hollow wispy opening all of a sudden through the deer, and then it probably like that wisp shuts down or closes in right after that. So imagine the surprise on their end whenever they came across something like this, and then they're realizing, what in the world am I dealing with? And then afterward, the deer is supposed to just disappear. Like whenever it gets shot at, it'll probably just look right back at the person, and then they see it disappear in their eyes. Another notable trait is that they'll try to find these tracks. They'll see them, they'll find them, they'll hunt the tracks, but then just out of the blue, the tracks will disappear. And it's not like you would expect under normal circumstances where, okay, you know, it goes into some rocky areas. It's kind of hard to track stuff in the rocky areas as opposed to grass, but there those tracks went from the grassy area to the set of boulders, something along those lines. No, it more is where the tracks just flat out end somewhere where normally the tracks should have continued. So totally imagine where, let's say the tracks went along a dirt path, and then the dirt path is still going forward, but then the tracks suddenly stopped. Like, what did the deer do? Did it fly out? Did it jump like a really gigantic leap into some other area? No, of course not. So in that case, that's what ends up surprising these people. And that's what happened with the author. Twice within the article, he felt he came across the tracks of this creature because he saw that they were larger, much larger than your average deer tracks, and they were about the size of an elk. And so I guess it was something where he felt like it was more of this, like of this ghost deer. Alas, though, he never came across it. The closest was he followed one of those tracks, but then it went to one of those areas where the tracks disappeared. And this is coming straightly from exactly from his article. He said where the tracks disappeared down into a steep canyon densely wooded with oaks, pine, and then fir, FIR. So in that case, he followed them, and maybe it was indeed the ghost deer, but wherever this thing went, it just went off into a very steep canyon way beyond, in this case, where he could go to, and then that was it. He was no longer able to find this ghost deer. But yes, it was very fascinating to read this info because the locals there, based on the article, they just talked about it nonchalantly, like this is just part of the location there. That's what they expect, and if they run across this creature again, they're not going to run out scared. No, in this case, it's just something that they've heard about and that they hopefully will find again. So very interesting stuff. Anybody there from that location in Mount Edie, maybe somewhere there as a passing tourist, or anyone that has hunted at that location before? If you know any more info about this local legend there, the so-called ghost deer, please post those comments. You know I love when it comes to these local experiences to share them with everyone too. But that's it. That's pretty much all the info associated with this ghost deer. So alright everybody, thanks again as always. Take care.